Hey everybody, I wanted to show you one of my latest Beatle finds. This is an album that I've seen in one of my record shops for about a year, but I never bought it because I had the CD and I just didn't think that I needed the vinyl. Until recently I read online, a lot of people were saying the vinyl sounds really good. And if you're a Beatle freak like I am and you're trying to have a complete collection, then the Beatles' Love album is something you need to get on vinyl. So I picked this up a couple days ago, and it's a two-disc album. And there's the front cover, and there's the back, and it's gatefold, cool-looking gatefold with the Beatles on the roof there. And for those of you who don't know, the Love album or the Love show was a show put together in Las Vegas by Cirque du Soleil, and it was because George, towards the end of his life, became friends with the head of Cirque, and they decided to put on a Beatles show. And because of that, George Martin and his son Giles Martin were commissioned to create a soundtrack for this show. And what they did was they took existing Beatles songs and mashed them together with other Beatles songs to create this elaborate show. And this is the soundtrack to that. When it first came out, it got a lot of mixed reviews, I think, from people. A lot of the diehards who thought the Beatles music should not be messed with in this way. I personally really like the album a lot. I think it's a fun listening experience. It definitely isn't. It's not something I'd put alongside the the regular Beatles albums. It kind of exists outside of the Beatles catalog for me, but it's a really fun listening experience, and the audio quality is fantastic on this. And I think the reason for that is because they did a lot of the later Beatles songs when they were on to like 4-track and 8-track. I think actually the earliest Beatles song on here is "I Want to Hold Your Hand," and then I think that's the only one from 1963 that they used at all. Everything else is from 65 and onwards. So I will show you what the vinyl looks like. So record number 1, side A, got this red logo. Side B, same thing. And from what the reports say online, the vinyl sounds, or the record rather, sounds a whole lot better than the CD, and I totally agree with that. I kind of didn't believe it at first because obviously all these versions of the song were all created in the digital realm, and so it wasn't like it was some analog signal that was going to benefit from being pressed to vinyl. But it really does sound really, really, really good. I've heard that the 5.1 surround mix is like the way to hear it, but I haven't heard that yet, and I haven't seen the show in Vegas. But this vinyl does sound excellent. So it comes with a book, and it's the exact same book that you get with the CD. It's just bigger, so that's kind of nice. And it's got a little write-up here by George Martin and Giles Martin, his son, and it's got a bunch of photos from the show, and it's a great booklet. It's nice to have it in this large size. So that was a cool addition to buying the vinyl. And then the other disc, let's see, looks like this. If I can get it out here. So instead of the red, you get the yellow. So there you go. Now, my personal take on this Love album is, I think it's cool they did it. And like I said, it's a really interesting listening experience because they combined a lot of tracks, obviously, to make this. I mean, it starts with Get Back, but Get Back isn't the normal Get Back. It starts with the drum solo from the end, which is then kind of just like melded in to the Get Back song. And then you get a bunch of other like combinations of Drive My Car, The Word, and What You're Doing are all mixed together. And probably the most famous and most successful combination on here was Within You Without You with Tomorrow Never Knows. So it's Tomorrow Never Knows drums and bass with Within You Without You vocals and string parts. And it really does sound pretty cool. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, I guess if Within You Without You wouldn't have gone in the direction it went in, which was with all the Indian musicians and with the string orchestrations, if they just did it as a band, it probably would have sounded the way it sounds on here. So it's really cool. In addition to all these mashups, there's also just the regular songs just remixed in really good quality. For example, like I'm the Walrus appears on this in true stereo. Even the BBC like Shakespearean talk at the end, it's all in stereo, in true stereo. And it sounds amazing. I'm the Walrus, to me, is worth the price of this whole album. It sounds so good, and I love the way it comes across on this. In addition to that, you get the complete version of A Day in the Life, which is an extremely fantastic audio quality, so that's nice to have. You get George's demo of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, but now with a George Martin string arrangement on top of it. And it's the last arrangement George Martin ever did for a Beatles product, and I think maybe the last arrangement he ever did for anyone. So that's really cool to have as well on this. Another honorable mention on this is I really like the version they made of Strawberry Fields Forever. It starts out with John's demo, and then it like transforms into like take 1, and then I think into like take 7, and then ends up with just the normal version we're all used to. But it's really cool the way they did that. So it's a really fun listening experience, this album, and as long as you don't have like preconceived notions about what the Beatles should sound like, and as long as you're not comparing this to the counterparts that we're so used to. Like if you compare Strawberry Fields, the single version we're all used to, with this version, yeah, this version is going to be kind of weird, and it's going to be a jarring experience because you want to hear the things that you're so used to hearing. But if you approach this with an open mind, and with the idea that you just want to have a good time listening to the Beatles, this is an awesome album. So that's my take on the Love album. I'd love to know what you think about the Love album. Maybe you really, really don't like it at all, and you think they shouldn't have messed with the recordings, and or maybe you love it, and maybe you love it for a different reason than the reasons I've stated. And I'd love to know what you think about that. So that's it for now. So this is my latest Beatle find, the Beatles' Love album. So I look forward to reading your comments.